When do you think the zero interest option will be available with borrowing against XRP, and how will that work? I don't know that you'll ever get a zero interest rate against XRP. Even premium collateral, you're going to have to borrow at whatever the prime rate is. So, whatever the prime rate is what I think we're going to get as the best option against XRP. Now, similar to how things work today, if you were to lend your crypto or borrow against it. If you hold it on a platform that gets to leverage it in some way, they will let you lend at a lower interest rate because they're going to generate additional yield with that crypto. That's rehypothecation. Most people don't want to do that. They would rather pay the higher interest rate so that their assets stay right there and they're not rehypothecated and there's no additional risk associated with that company going bankrupt like we saw with, Celsius and Voyager and FTX. Now, as things progress here, we have pseudo accounts on the XRPL. I believe that you will be able to participate in liquidity pools and you'll have borrow lend on chain. So, the way that I'm looking at this is, let's say there's a counterparty that we trust that is willing to accept a reflection of the XRP out of Anchorage. So, your XRP stays in Anchorage, we reflect it with them on their balance sheet. They do whatever they're going to do with it. Hopefully, it's super low risk. I would, again, if we're working with them, we're going to make sure of that. And, they'll pass back the returns to the client. That might take a form like a CD or something where you say, hey, I'm going to give it to you and you're going to be able to reflect this for 6 months or a year and use it on your balance sheet to generate returns for your company and pass us the majority of it. When it comes to the lowest interest that I think you're going to be able to get is if you do borrow lend at the same time. So you're lending the XRP to them, they're able to generate some return on it. Again, ideally it's locked in your account, and then you're also able to borrow against the same financial product. So, let's call it a CD, you're able to get 4% per year on your CD if you just leave it there. But if you wanted to borrow against that CD, you could borrow at like 3%. Now that counterparty is going to make however much they are for trading it on their balance sheet and an additional 300 basis points for your loan. So now you're borrowing at 3%. That's really good. Or 2%, 2 to 3% is where I think the highest leverage opportunities are going to be with XRP to be able to borrow against it. Yeah, there's never going to be a zero interest rate for XRP in my opinion. Would love to be wrong on that one.